Alright, gang. This is my official Evil Dead Burn review, in-depth review. So, obviously, I just watched Evil Dead Burn. And for me personally, I was not a fan. Um, Compared to Rise, I loved Rise, Evil Dead Rise so much. As far as just like everything they brought to the franchise, uh, all the new stuff that they're able to bring, whether it's like Danny playing the DJ set, right? Or being in outside of a cabin, the high rise apartment. Like just different setting, different location, different Deadites, different Book of the Dead. Like it felt refreshing. It felt new to me. Turn this down. But with that being said, Evil Dead Burn kind of reverted back to all the things that I don't really enjoy about Evil Dead. Uh, Not even to say that like I don't enjoy Evil Dead, right? Like I love Evil Dead. The Sam Raimi, the first one was probably my favorite one, and then the next two were a little campy, but it was like the 80s, 90s, so I don't mind, right? Like it is what it is for when it was, but the reboots. Let's talk about the reboots really quick. The reboots have since been a lot more horror centric, a lot more focused on gore, guts, violence, and I like that, right? Because I'm a horror fanatic. I've watched all the Friday the 13th growing up, like all the Nightmare on Elm Street. Just like the horror aspect, right? I like being scared. I like feeling on the edge of my seat. But eventually, I mean, essentially, this movie did not do it for me. Didn't do it for me at all. And which is really disappointing because I wanted to go into this movie really liking it. But I felt from the teaser trailer that we got that it's like the one shot where she's crawling around the house and it's just like, no one's gonna kill this girl. I don't know. It just felt like the Deadites weren't really threatening, is what I'm trying to say. To our main character. It's like we knew who our main character was going to be maybe 20 to 30 minutes into the film. It's like, okay, this is going to be our final lady. Which is fine, because how we knew, they wrote every other character to just be these terrible people, right? The family was terrible people. And that's fine. I mean, they're all going to die eventually, right? So don't get too attached to them. But it was just like, they didn't make these characters whatsoever like redeemable or presentable, to say the least. Like at least with the family in Evil Dead Rise, we were attached to those kids. We were attached to Ellie, the mom. We were attached to the sister. We were even attached to the apartment members because they seem like good people. You know, the old man smoking a cigarette, having a cat. The brother who is looking after his other brothers. It's like side piece character. The guy wanted to pray once Ellie died. Like he's like, hey, can we do a quick prayer? She's not religious. Well, we're gonna do a quick prayer anyways. It's like redeemable qualities, good people. See, like we don't want to see them die, and I feel like that makes for a more effective movie. Because here it was just kind of like, hey, here's these characters. They're all pieces of crap, and they're gonna die. And it's like, cool. Well, let's do it. And then it just took way too long for them to die. And another thing is, this movie was just being gross for the sake of being gross. An early example is the dad eating the mashed potatoes and just like coughing it up. And it's like, bruh, what are you, a little baby, bro? Like, I get it, you're infected. I have so many gripes with this movie, you guys. Let's start off. Let's start off with the setup. Okay, the setup. This movie goes straight into pretty much the Deadites running around in this little town or whatever. And I guess in the very, very beginning, when it's still like we haven't even seen the title card yet, the dude reads from the book or listens to an interpretation of somebody reading from the book. It made no sense because, like, I was like, okay, we're going to flash back. We're going to see how we got here. Just like in Evil Dead Rise. No, not at all. No, what you get is very straightforward storytelling, very linear. But it wasn't, that sounds contradictory. It wasn't linear because we do flashbacks and we do jump around, I guess, in the story. But I was thinking we're going to get some sort of explanation. How did we get here? To these Deadites in the lake. To these Deadites, standing in the middle of the road. Trying to crash the car. And the Deadite even says, take me to your family. And it's like, okay, this family must have some importance. And they kind of explain it. The biggest explanation we get is like, oh, your grandpa was, one of the wise men or belonged in this cult of the wise men. And, and then the son is he's an author. We never see him write a single thing in this book, in this movie. He's an author. He's trying to write a book. So he's using grandpa's old studies for his new book. And it's like, okay. Bro, first and foremost, why are you trying to copyright? Why are you trying to take something that's not yours? You did no research. You're just reading whatever grandpa wrote and then trying to present it as your own. So I guess that was the setup, was like, hey, he read from the book. He listened to the tapes within the first minute of the movie. So if you show up late to the theater, just know, like, yeah, you're in for an Evil Dead movie, obviously. But I didn't enjoy that at all. I did not enjoy that a single bit. And they never really distinguished if this is the Deadite from Evil Dead Rise. I think that's what you're supposed to interpret, right? That, oh, this is the same Deadite from Evil Dead Rise at the lake. Because Evil Dead Rise begins and ends with a Deadite at the lake. At least it was sunny, too. Oh, my goodness. Right when the freaking movie started, it's all gray. And I'm just like... And these two guys are fishing. And I'm like, great fishing weather, right? I mean, I guess, like, I'm not too big of a fisherman, but I guess you could still catch fish in stormy weather, rainy weather. Maybe they're even more prominent, but these two guys are fishing and it's gloomy out, and it's like, wouldn't you... They don't even have raincoats, I don't think. What are y'all doing, bro? It's about to rain and y'all over here fishing. And I have so many issues with this movie. Right when they're fishing, one keeps getting a phone call, and the other one's like, dude, you better hang that up. You better silence your phone. And of course, I knew exactly where we're going. He's like, I'm gonna take this call. Walks away. Right when he walks away, evil shit starts happening. Obviously, you gotta isolate your characters. The fishing poles, they all get sucked into the lake. Then the fishing poles all cast back onto the guy, right? Onto the one guy that's still there. Takes him in the water. And I'm like, oh, these Deadites are gone fishing. Cool, I guess. It was a little corny, in my opinion. But the even more messed up scene was when the buddy comes back and he goes to find his buddy. He sees him in the lake. Oh, all right, I'm going to hop in this boat and I'm going to go save him. Tiny little boat. Drives out there. Dude picks up his homie, right? And it's just his upper half, just his torso, upper half. Brings him in the boat, and then he's, like, laying with him. And then he, like, reaches down to, like, feel his ass, his butt. And I'm like, you just copping a feel on your boy? What is going on? I didn't understand, but that's his revelation. If the face wasn't messed up enough, right? The guy's face is completely mutilated. And then he freaks out, and then the boat tips, and then he's in the water, and he's like, and it's like, bro, get out of there. Did you not just see your boy get mauled by, let's just call it the Loch Ness Monster? Something's in the water. I would be freaking out. I would be trying to get back onto the boat, if not swimming to shore. But the biggest gripe that I have with this entire scene is the Deadite stands up, is on the boat, you see it in the trailer, and then proceeds to boil the water. I don't know how, but she essentially boils the entire lake, is what I assume. A bunch of fish come up dead. Guy essentially gets burned to death. This is Evil Dead Burn, so whatever. But this is what we're going into. This is literally the first 10 minutes of the movie, and you already have to suspend so much belief. You have to turn off your brain and just say, okay, we're in an Evil Dead movie. I get it, and that's fine. I'm not lost in the movie yet. I don't think I got lost until we were introduced to all our characters. But that brings me on to my second point. The characters. There was not a single likable character in this entire movie, except for maybe the final girl. She was okay, but even the introduction to her is like her and her boyfriend arguing, which I did not like. Like, it immediately made you feel uneasy, on edge, like a lot happening, right? Is how I felt. I was like, because they're in a club, they're in a nightclub, so you're getting loud music, and then you're getting this couple that's arguing, and then the couple that's just kind of sitting there, like the audience is like, guys, it's a birthday, it's a celebration, what are we doing? But you can clearly tell off the rip that this couple is not good for each other, right? Like, I've been in toxic relationships. I'm sure some of y'all have been in toxic relationships, and it's just like, bro, we're at a club, we're at a celebration, why are we arguing? First and foremost. So that's our introduction to the characters, the ones we're supposed to be rooting for. And then they didn't really make it clear in my first impression that the two brothers were related. I didn't know they were brothers at all, just thought they were friends. And obviously one drives home drunk, gets into a car crash, and that's how our movie starts, right? Like, he hits the Deadite from the lake, because she's just walking around, I guess, walking around town. And he's drunk driving, and hits the Deadite, sure. But going back to their characters. And then we get introduced to the family. Both parents are weird. It's like, not a single person in this family is normal, and I get that. Families, I guess, aren't normal, and everyone's different. But once again, alluding to Evil Dead Rise, at least that family you were rooting for. Like, the kids, the mom, the sister, people that we could relate to, people that we want to see win in life. Here, it was just like, kill them all. The dad, the mom, both angry, mean weirdos. The grandma, delusional, and I get it. She's the comic relief here, but it worked in the beginning, and as it kept going, I was just like, oh my gosh. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. But she's delusional. Probably like schizophrenic or dementia or something like that, right? Because her character makes no sense. And then you go into the younger part of the cast where it's like the younger brother, his girl, I guess the older brother who's in the movie for 10 minutes, and his girl, the widow. Let's just call it the widow, our main final girl. And you're like, okay, these guys are at least decent. And then you're an hour into the movie, and the dad has already turned, and they're trying to drive him to a hospital, get him better. Sure. The younger brother and his lady are the ones taking the dad, and the dad ends up turning, flipping the whole car. You see it in the trailer. Boom, big old accident. Bruh, the kid runs away from his wife getting murdered by his father. The poor kid couldn't even detain his dad, couldn't stand up for himself, which is the worst part of the entire character arc for that kid, is he is such a pansy, bro. Just running away, and I guess relying on women, and I guess like that was his whole thing, was like the dude doesn't stand up for himself and doesn't fight. And it's like, I hate weak characters like that. Like, any man in that situation, and I'm a man, right? Any man in that situation is gonna be like, Dad, calm the fuck down, and like maybe try and like calm down the situation. Does not happen here. Instead, and then runs away. After your lady gets murked by your dad, it's like, are you kidding me, bro? Like, you're not even gonna stand your ground, bro. And like, it's just terribly written, bro. Couldn't get behind this character after that. I was like, okay, so he's gone. Obviously, his lady just died, so she's no longer a character. And now I hate this character, right? So the only character that we have left to root for is Final Girl / Widow. And she was decent, right? She was decent. Her character arc is getting out of the abusive relationship, surviving that trauma, but it just felt way too on the nose. Like, yeah, who else are we going to root for, right? Who else are we going to root for? So I guess this is the girl that we have to root for. She's okay. She doesn't do anything that has any redeeming qualities. When they're at the funeral right in the beginning, they make it a point. She doesn't cry. She doesn't have a speech, right? She obviously doesn't care about her. It's not even that she doesn't care. It's everyone deals with trauma in their own way. I get that. They say that too. But it's just like, We're supposed to like this character. Give us something to like. Instead, she's quiet at the funeral, doesn't give us much there. And it's just terribly written characters. So that was my second point, okay? Let's go on to the third point. The pacing. The pacing in this movie felt longer. It was about a 2-hour movie. It felt longer than it needed to be. I keep hearing like, oh, get straight into action. Sure, but I guess you're dispelling the setup for that, right? You're giving up the setup for getting right into the action. And then once we get into the action, it's like, cool. But it just takes way too long to kill these characters, bro. It's like, once the dad turns and he kills the kid's girl, the kid runs back to the house, I guess, right? And then at the same time, the widow she goes into the trash bag, finds the Necronomicon or whatever, and is like reading this is the dumbest part too. She reads like 4 letters from this book, or 4 words from this book will summon the dead. And then she proceeds to read the 4 words. She's like, and she gets to the final word. Is like, nah, mess that. Screw that. And it's like, okay, I get it. That was like a little comedic relief. Okay, at least she didn't do it. But that's the whole thing, is nobody read from the book. I guess in the beginning, the kid listened to the tapes, but nobody read from the book in this movie. So the Deadites are just running around right off rip. But that's not the point. We're going to go back to the pacing. The pacing. So once the kid gets back to the house, everybody gets back to the house. You see it in the trailer. Then the dad just proceeds to stand outside for the entire night, the entire day. He doesn't even try and come in. Instead, he takes a pistol, blows his own brains out. And it's just like, okay, cool. Like, shock value, I guess. Yeah, that looks gross. His brains are fucking splatting out at the back of his head. Okay. But he just stands outside, him and his dog. And then they rely on the girlfriend who got murked in the car sequence. They rely on her to do the infiltrating inside the house. And this was another issue that I had, was they lock her in the basement. Sure, cool. They lock her in the basement. And then the kid and the mom and the girlfriend, the widow, they all go into the kitchen, I guess. Everybody has left the room, but they've left the delusional grandma all by herself. Huh? I get it. You can't watch her 24/7, but there is a serious situation going on outside and maybe within this house. And we're just like, we're going to leave grandma sitting in the living room or wherever they left her by the stairs. We're just going to leave grandma. And grandma decides to, like, she sees the Deadite trying to get out of the basement, and she's like, oh, you're trying to steal my money. That was the whole joke. You're trying to steal my money. And it's like, Deadite's like, yeah, sure. And it was just like way better done, in my opinion, in Evil Dead Rise. Because you had the little girl who just saw her mommy turn to a Deadite, and her mommy is giving her a soliloquy of like, hey, I'm going to make things right with your dad. Just let us in. Be a good little girl. Like, that's her mom. So as a kid, impressionable brain, you're not comprehending, especially in that traumatic experience, you're not comprehending, right? So you're like, I'm going to open the door for my mom because she's always been mom. And even though she's possessed, like, maybe she'll come to good, right? Like, it made way more sense in Evil Dead Rise. And in Burn, they just leave this delusional grandma, and I get it, she's delusional, so obviously she's not comprehending the situation, but they just leave delusional grandma in the living room next to where they lock the Deadeye up in the basement, and the Deadeye starts to break out. It's like, hey, let me out. And then grandma's like, you gonna give me my money back? And it's like, what are we doing, gang? What are we doing? I didn't understand it. It seemed so cheap and so lazy of writing. It's like, dude, take the grandma in the kitchen with y'all while y'all go discuss a plan. Okay, so that was the pacing of the movie. It just felt off. I wanted all the characters to die instantly, and it took way too long because you have the dad outside and the Deadite in the basement, and you have about 30 minutes of these characters just hanging out inside the house before anything happens, and the kid doesn't one time bring up that he has heard grandpa's tapes or anything relevant to the situation at hand, right? Like, he doesn't come and tell people what's going on, and I hate that for the character, and I hate that for the pacing, because now we're just all waiting around. Like, the audience, we know what's going on, but the characters in the movie do not know what's going on. And it's like, bro, can we get everybody up to speed, please? Like, just say what's on your mind, bro. Like, oh my gosh. And then even the final boss, bro. The final boss, like in Evil Dead Rise, and I hate to keep comparing to Evil Dead Rise, but even the original reboot of Evil Dead, like, they had this final boss that comes out of the ground, right? And it's like this big thing. And I like the final bosses in Evil Dead. I think that's one of the best things about Evil Dead is, like, you get this, like, crazy demonic villain, right? That comes out from the book, and, like, it's everything we've been building towards the entire movie. In this one, it's the burned carcass of the husband, right? The widow. It's his carcass, and he's just this burned zombie, I guess, walking around. Skeleton and bones. Bro, if you don't hit this man with a baseball bat and snap those fucking bones. I'm trying to breathe, y'all. It's just, you have to turn your brain off so much for this movie. Okay, small point. The dagger, right? So, in this movie, they say, hey, we found a weapon to kill the Deadites. Sweet. Like, let's build on this lore. Let's build on the lore. And this dagger looks like a pocket knife. In the original ones, it's an actual, like, sword blade. Looks threatening. In this one, it's, like, this big. And she's like, and, like, stabbing the Deadites. And the blade might be that big. And it's just like, this is the dagger that's supposed to kill these Deadites. This tiny little Swiss Army knife. But by that point in the movie, I'm already checked out, dude. Like, my brain has turned completely off. One big gripe that, like, this is where my brain turns off, right? At the funeral scene. They're going to cremate the son that has already been burned alive. If the kid hasn't been burned enough, we're going to cremate him. Sure. Right? Because obviously you can't have an open casket with something like that. And it turns into this comedic scene really quick. The cremator is putting in his earbuds. He's doing some dancing. Cool. The funniest part, though, is he's about to burn the entire coffin. I don't necessarily know how cremation works. Granted, I've had my own experiences with it. But if you're going to burn the entire coffin, then how much ashes of that person are you getting versus wood ashes, right? Like, it made no sense. It made no sense. This movie makes no sense. But this is part of me turning my brain off, right? So the guy's like dancing. He's about to cremate this entire casket. Doesn't even take the body, check the body, whatever. And then the dad comes to the back room and is like, hey, I want to see my son one last time. And he's like, dude, you're not allowed to do that. And he's like, I'm a grieving father. He's like, okay, you could have 5 minutes. Would never happen. That would never happen. There's rules and regulations for a reason. That would never happen. Anyways, let's cut to the point. The dad hears some knocking. It's not coming from outside. It's coming from in the casket. It got to be the deadite in the casket, right? Okay. So the dad's like, son, tries to break open the casket, get his son out, take a look. The son is burnt to crisp. Literally a burnt piece of bacon. But somehow rises up out of the coffin. We don't even see what this guy looks like because they're trying to save it, right? They're trying to save, this is what the final boss is. It was just a black piece of tar. But he kills the cremator at the funeral home. Brutally. You see blood spraying everywhere in the back room. And then it cuts to the dad sitting in the car waiting for the family to, leave the funeral home. And so they could go to the cabin in the woods, the house. Which is another point. Okay, but hold on. Nobody at the funeral home notices that the cremator has been brutally dismantled. No cops get called. It just gets swept right under the rug. Nobody asks any questions. And then they have the audacity to do a final post-credit scene back at the funeral home. Nobody noticed that your cremator got brutally murdered, that there's blood all over the back room. Like, this is the part that makes no sense. And this is probably 30 minutes into the movie, if that, 20 minutes into the movie. And it's just like, dude, you got to suspend so much belief. You got to turn your brain off in order to watch this movie. And I'm hearing so much reviews online like, it was good, it was good, it was good. No, it is not. This is the worst movie. Evil Dead Rise at least took the time for good writing, good character development, good characters. Like, the setup was there. I like how they added to the lore, the 3 books, you know, the books of the dead. And this movie just kind of like took all that and was like, all right, like it's influencing our movie, but they just completely went off the rails with this one, dude. Completely went off the rails with this one. Even the turning of the Deadites make no sense. Like, how do we get Deadites, right? Most, from my experience, is like they have to like injure you, or they have to spill some sort of bodily fluid on you, right? Their blood. Then you turn, right, by ingesting that. And here it was just like, made no sense. In one scene, the Deadite is licking Grandma's teeth. Just for the sake of being nasty, right? Just to make you, like, squeal and turn away. Like, takes out her fake teeth, her veneers, and, like, licking it. And then puts it back in Grandma. And it's like, okay, campy, sure, if that's what you call campy. And then in the very next scene, the mom, who's, you know, related to the grandma, is like putting the grandma to sleep. And then the husband comes up to the window. She opens the window, lets the husband in. They start making out. But she doesn't turn. Because then the following scene after all that, the dad finally, like, right, she lets the dad in. And then the dad tries to kill her and the son. He's like, in the trailer, the girl, she gets knocked out. She wakes up, and then she starts crawling, and, like, that's where the one shot comes from, right? And she's, like, crawling, and then families are getting thrown around. That's the dad trying to kill the son and the mom. The mom has already turned. She just made out with the Deadite dad. I don't understand it, bro. It's just too inconsistent. Too many plot holes. Too many moments of disbelief. You gotta turn your brain all the way off for this movie, man. I mean, the best part about this movie is obviously, like, the message. Actually, I don't want to crap on this movie too much. The 2 things I did like, let's talk about the things I like. 2 things I like: the message, which is domestic abuse. Obviously, that's a serious issue. You know, nobody wants to see women get hurt. And even in that matter, nobody wants to see men get hurt. Like, we're all human. We're all walking on this, you know, earth together. We got to respect each other. We got to love each other. But I get it. Relationships are tough, right? Especially if you guys aren't compatible and you guys are, like, forcing it. So I get the message, and I like the message. And it's like, domestic abuse is not something to make fun of, and it's a serious issue. And I like that part, right? I like the message, even though I don't like how they conveyed it. I don't like the characters that they put us in. Like, it was just like, I don't like anything about how they're telling us about the message, but I like the message. And then the next thing I like was some of the cinematography was nice. All right, like with the camera angles, you get like tracking shots. One of the Deadites like runs up the wall and is like carrying one of our characters in like a plastic bag, and it was pretty cool, I guess. But, like, it wasn't enough. It was, the 2 things I like about this movie was not enough to make me like this movie at all. And I'm sorry if I ranted. I'm sorry if, you know, this comes off like a rant. But I'm seeing so much online rhetoric about how good this movie was. And it was not that good, y'all. It was not that good. I had, just for context, I had just watched Undertone last week. The 2025 horror movie about, like, the podcast. That movie was creepy. That movie, with their sound design, they don't show you nothing in that movie. It's not gory at all. You just hear a bunch of things. And I was watching that in my living room at like 11 o'clock at night, and I had goosebumps, and I felt eerily freaked out, and I felt scared, and I was like, dude, is my door locked? Like, I'm a grown man. I'm 30 years old. Grown man. And I'm like, yo, what the... But this movie, I was just like, it's not working. It's not working, man. It's not scary. You gotta turn off your brain 5 minutes into the movie. And it's just nonstop for that entire time. And they're just trying to be gory and cringe and, you know, nasty just for the sake of being nasty. And I don't like that. That's like the worst kind of horror, in my opinion. But that's my thoughts on Evil Dead Burn, y'all. I'm sorry, like I said, if it came off of a rant. If you like this movie, good for you. I'm just not a fan of it, and I had to get my thoughts out there in a concise video. And if you made it this long, I appreciate you. Hopefully you guys are able to think similar to how I'm thinking, because man, we can't let this guy direct another Evil Dead movie. If he's doing Wrath, I don't know if I'll be there for Wrath. Like, I love Evil Dead. I like the reboot. If I had to rank them, I'd say Rise. So I'm already gonna get online hate. Rise, the reboot, and then now Burn. So as far as the reboots go, that's how I'm ranking them. And I'm looking forward to Wrath, but if this guy's the director, I don't know if I could do it. We gotta see who the writer is on the Wrath movie, because this movie was just all over the place, and I did not enjoy it. But like I said, if you guys made it to this far in the video, I appreciate you guys. Leave a like, leave a comment, and leave a follow, subscribe if you do want to. I promise I don't hate on movies. Like, I love movies, I love cinema. I just don't like what they're doing in cinema as far as, like, yeah, that's another thing for another video. But I love you guys, man. Take care.